This is Terrence Banks with Information Age Financial Solutions, and coming to you talking to you again about real estate. I came across this article about they're back and why you should be worried, very worried. And it kind of puts the sentiment that I've been feeling lately about real estate in general. And it starts off, bubbles are easy to spot, pinpointing when they'll pop is quite another. This article is a fantastic article, and I usually say that about the articles I read because if I'm mentioning it, it usually draws attention. Again, about real estate itself, I put a video last time about the 8 things that every real estate investor needs to know. And this is just one of them. And I mentioned about when everybody gets on one side of the boat and talking so much about real estate, that usually a crash is imminent. And with the euphoria going on, it's almost like 2008 has not existed. And the crash did not occur. And this article just kind of brings off to my sentiments of what I'm seeing and what has actually been out there. And another thing to be mindful too is when very popular financial people are talking about real estate, it's a very good sign too that a crash is imminent and you need to be more mindful of it. And this article just pinpoints that particular fact, and it talks about 2 very familiar people, Tony Robbins and Suzie Orman. Now, if you're not familiar with Suzie Orman, she has a show on CNBC, talks about giving people financial advice. Well, apparently it seems that Tony Robbins wrote another financial book, and Suzie Orman has once again reemerged to deliver her brand of financial advice. They're both delivering their insights to the venue titled, wait for it, Real Estate Wealth Expo, where you too can learn how to become a millionaire via real estate. Now, I only laugh and chuckle at that because I've had conversations with people who've never did anything in real estate, and somehow, in some way, they too are going to find religion and get financially sophisticated and financially free from real estate. Real estate, as I mentioned in my last video, when I've dealt with real estate, is one of the most toughest investment classes to actually build wealth. I shouldn't say the toughest class to build wealth. It's the toughest class, and your financial education needs to be at its highest. It's one of the greatest ways to build wealth, but the way people are going about things is usually in terms of real estate flipping, and that is not real estate investing, it's trading. Again, I just wanted to tee back to this article because they're back, and why you should be worried, very worried, is because he's mentioning some of the same sentiments that I've said. And I'll just read you a couple of things about the article, and I encourage you to take a look at it. Bubbles are easy to spot. Pinpointing when they'll pop, it's quite another. I coined that phrase a while back, which is nothing more than adding my own spin, commenting 2 very old catchphrases used by seasoned traders and investors. I use the word seasoned for a reason. Why? Because they're the ones that have been around and been burned themselves. I'm talking for myself. Been in real estate for over 15 years, still seeing to operate in real estate, and I've got burned pretty badly in the last 2008. It was my financial FU, where I've learned a lot about market crashes, over taking on too much debt, and not aware of that real estate ultimately depended on markets and jobs. And if you're in a market where jobs are being lost and crushed, you're going to be crushed by real estate as well if you're not prepared. So he goes on to say, those who remain wedded, usually the novice or one who's never experienced true volatility, to be more prominent and spacious claims of you can tell when you're in a bubble, follow if you can always get out in time. For the most part, are long gone, i.e. the bubble popped either along with their money. Now this was the phenom more apparent than the real estate boom of the early 2000s, which followed the prior phenom only 10 years prior of the dot-com crash, that it should have seared into people's memory for millennia just how bubbles take shape and the resulting financial devastation that happens rapidly once they're popped. Guess what? Actually, you already know. Nobody seems to care. Yet here's something you may not know, but you should. It's all happening again and in the same time frame. We are once again, you got the phrase a lot, hovering in around all-time highs in the market, and once again, all the warning signs are coming into place that should be the telltale signs for prudence and caution. But we're not living in prudence and caution. We're living in everybody can do real estate. Everybody can do everything everybody else does, and somehow magically this is going to work itself out. When you watch the HGTV station, there's nothing but real estate flippings all over the stations, and you probably have gotten some kind of notification through the mail that, especially if you're involved in real estate, you too join this seminar. You can flip real estate in your area. And again, I want to point to the two people that's supposed to be hosting, Tony Robbins and Suzie Orman, deliver their brand of financial advice. So let me make this statement right off the bat. This isn't a hit piece about either Tony, Suzie, or the expo. What I'm strictly relating my argument to is the phenom and psychology that reemerges with a vengeance during what is known as the topping process, aka the late stages of a bubble mentality. That cannot be said enough. The late stages of a bubble mentality. When everybody's on one side of the fence, especially when it comes to real estate, stock markets, if you have your local person at Walmart talking about it, typically means that a crash is imminent. And again, I'm only speaking this. I can remember the day that I was sitting down. I was at a family barbecue, and someone who's never did real estate, in fact, he was terrible at finance, said, "Hey, I'm flipping houses, man. I want to pick your brain about something." At that moment, I should have stopped what I was doing and got out. But I was foolish enough, because I'd never been through a market cycle to see how bad things can be. And lo and behold, I got my financial FU, and I learned a lot from that experience. I'm here just to remind people again, we're in a bubble again. Real estate is reached all new highs. And again, we haven't had a market correction in the last over 8 years. And we're due. Typically in markets, there's every 4 to 6 years throughout the history of public has usually been a market correction. We haven't had one since 2008, 2009, it's 2017. So this is the second longest stretch in terms of a market increase that we have seen throughout history. So I want to point back to this article. They're back, and why you should be worried, very worried. And be careful when you're looking at financial gurus who are using these staging platforms to push another book or tell you that if you just think about something, you too could be a millionaire. Anyone could do it. Just be mindful of that. Increase your financial education, hold your wallet, and maybe sit on the sidelines until the frenzy is over. This is Terrence Banks with Information Age Financial Solutions. Be aware that we're right on the cusp of another bubble, and real estate is definitely at its top. So just be mindful. If you're going to take on this particular aspect, just be mindful of it and be mindful of what you're doing. Until my next video, I'm out.